Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Kuchera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome in, Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you for those that are tuning in and watching us live on the Facebook feed. We appreciate that very much. Love the audience. Anywhere we could get in, we continue to try to grow the show as much as we can. Obviously, we'd love to have you download the podcast. The way you could do that is go to iTunes, just type in Real Estate Radio Live, or go to Stitcher, Google+, and you could even go to our website at RERL-1563-How and get the podcast there. The focus has always been the same since we started the show over 7 years ago. It's education and information. We want to work really hard to have great guests like we have today, ongoing series, content, information to help you, the consumer. Wise, a more educated consumer in and around your real estate. However, we are stretched our legs a little bit, and we invited Mr. Russo in about, 5 months ago now?
I think we're up to number 24 or 25, right. So whatever that equates to, but earlier this year. It's
exciting. Jack has joined us, and we started the series starting something new in Silicon Valley. His firm specializes in startups, intellectual property, and a number of other things. I'll have him explain that to you, and we also have a special guest I'll have Jack introduce in just a minute as well. So we try to stick to Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. For those that follow the show, again, the best way to do it is follow us on Facebook if you can, like it, and also download the podcast when you get a chance. So today's topic, we're going to talk about how investors look at startups, and that's one of the reasons Jack brought in Leigh today. And so why don't we do this, Jack? You could remind everybody about your firm, what you guys specialize in. You could introduce Leigh, and we could start our topic today.
Sure. So
welcome in.
Thank you. Jack Russo, managing partner of Computer Law Group in Palo Alto. We see a lot of in-the-garage startups, and as a result of that, we've had great success with a number of them, and we started a little side fund that's called Florence Ventures, LLC. Dr. Leigh Soutter is on the managing group of Florence Ventures, LLC, so she looks at a lot of startups. Often they're pre-vetted by the law firm or by me or by others at the firm. And then if we're bringing her in, it's like getting serious that, well, maybe these guys could actually justify a financial investment, because there is sort of a tight-knit community of angel investors that are looking for deal flow. And yet you have to have a new lens, and Leigh brings a whole new lens to picture. She has a Ph.D. from Stanford and a lot of other credentials, and she brings kind of the objective analysis of, this is what you're going to face. We're an early stage group, but get ready to keep facing this music over and over again of, why are you going to be successful? Why is your team motivated? Why is a team beyond other teams? Why is the opportunity so great? Why is the technology so good? And she'll add to the list, I'm sure. But Leigh is also my wife and partner, so it's pretty good. It means we talk about these deals all the time.
All the time.
And, I mean, we go through a lot of stuff trying to figure out how to help people that are stuck. Because there are lots of little companies that get into sort of, hey, we're just stuck right here. We can't go forward. We can't go sideways. We just got off the phone with one that's selling to some big public company, not to be mentioned, but it's literally now stuck in the crosshairs of trying to figure out, can they raise more money? Do they sell to a public company? Do they do something else? And you got all those issues about, can you keep the team together? Can you keep the technology organized? Can you keep the momentum going? Or is it just screech to a grinding halt like Sears Roebuck filing for bankruptcy? My father must be spinning in his grave. He used to buy stuff. The original catalog company, literally,
amazing, huh?
Could have been Amazon.
Look at that.
And they filed for bankruptcy early this week. People predicted, and everyone said, no, they've got so many real estate assets, it'll never happen. And it happened, and you look back and say, that could have been Amazon, and we were just debating, why didn't it become Amazon?
Well, it's almost as similar to the Kodak story, right?
Yes,
what
very
happened?
much. You get
Kodak.
stuck in a belief that
people always want pictures.
You got to have stores. The stores are where people buy. They want to kick the tires. Well, you know what? That's completely changing. Totally changing.
So you guys also become like the legal psychiatrist in a certain way as well, right? You have to really...
Sometimes you have to do kind of and interestingly, in this particular case, the case we're talking about, it's another husband and wife that's the leaders of the team, and they have kind of views about what's right for them and their family, which might or might not jive with what's right for the company. So there's a lot of psychometrics that go into it. And sure, businesses are people, and people are different, and they value things differently in a big way.
So hopefully if we're wise, we continue to surround ourselves with smart people and people that have better skill sets or different skill sets than us, and so that's where Leigh comes in.
Yeah, right. Oftentimes in a bigger way than that. In a bigger way, because she sees things often that I overlook, and I say, wow, I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all.
Right.
I mean, there's lots of examples of that. You know, the value of a diverse group of people to look at the same problem is immense.
It is. That's a very good point.
It's hard to say that in a way that really resonates, but different people can look at the same thing and see so many other differences that are present, and then come up with a really good idea that no one individually could see, but collectively somehow it just works.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden the light bulb goes off and it becomes clear what should happen.
Yeah, the value of the team.
So I won't put you on the spot as to what you think those folks that we were talking to in the car ride over in traffic, where they were. But tell us more about how you think about it.
Well, yeah, give us a minute, Leigh. Tell us a little bit about your background for the benefit of the listeners and the viewers, a little bit about your background, and then we get started on the topic.
Well, I have a earth science background, so I wound up with a PhD in earth sciences from Stanford University, and what we did there was to put computer software together that helped people solve earth science-related problems. So when I got done at Stanford, I wound up, oddly, there's the equations behind all of this business. It varies, and it can be applied across a lot of different fields. So I started getting interested in different ways that you could apply this kind of thinking to other fields, and I wound up using my background to consult in a variety of different areas, and I kind of wound up taking a left turn and went into software.
Wow.
And that's how I wound up in Silicon Valley. And so I was working for myself and consulting with my software. I started up my own business, and I suffered some of the consequences, especially during the time of the 2008.
Oh, yeah. Remember it well.
Yes. Very painful. And then I had an awakening that maybe the land of good things was back in my home of Silicon Valley, and so I came back and I started working with some of these software companies, and lo and behold, I started getting experience with startups and learning things and trying different impressions, and then that's how I ran across Jack.
Great.
So, yeah.
Very good.
Well, she was trying to collect some money from a client. She called me up. I got her paid. Yeah. That's a very typical problem if you're a small business person.
Yeah.
But the real truth is customers are key to successes for companies. Yeah. And if customers are reneging, as happened in 2008, there's a challenge to a business. It's almost like things grind to a stop when that whole locomotion stops because people start freezing. And, of course, there's a worry that maybe that's going to happen again.
Well, that's kind of an interesting thing, because one of the reasons that I had so much trouble during that time was because I had one main customer. And when that one main customer dried up, it was very, very difficult to quickly put together another customer base when things were failing. And so, to the point, that's one of the things that I think is very important when I look and talk to new startups. Who do they think their customers are, and do they have a plan beyond getting Google or Facebook to buy them?
Right. Good point.
So, yeah.
Right. These companies that come in and say, well, we saw one of them this week, well, we're going to sell to the military. And the first thing I said is, that's just one customer.
Yeah.
And they said, but, once we have them,
that's the home run, right?
And I said, well, there's an old saying, you have to dynamite your way into a military account, and then it takes a lot of dynamite to blow you out of it. But getting in takes an equal amount of dynamite to blow out who's ever there. So that's a really challenging startup if you're just focused on one customer.
Yep.
I mean, everything is riding on that one bet.
Yeah.
It's a lot to ask for somebody to know exactly where their product is going to be positioned in the marketplace and exactly who their customers are going to be, because one of the things that's really important in a startup is being able to, read the tea leaves and pivot when necessary and reposition yourself and all of that. But another thing that's really important is for somebody to be able to see beyond their product coolness, and look into where it is positioned in the marketplace. What does look different about them compared to their competitors and so on? I don't know. You feel strongly about that too, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
One of the things that we've talked about before and I'm experiencing right now is you go in one direction and you realize that you may take another one that could get you to succeed a lot quicker and sooner, and all of a sudden other opportunities open up that you may not know about.
It's like
Isn't that right too?
It's like a big experiment. Maybe it's not as scientific as a scientific experiment, but you've got this idea. You've got maybe a half dozen people that say, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
I'd buy it if you can make it. I'd buy it if you can make it at this price point. I'd buy it if you can add this or add that. And then you start to believe, okay, this is the market, and let's say it's a consumer market. That's the initial thought.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, as you start talking to people, they say, no, you can use that product in a much better way on the factory floor.
Right.
And it's really a commercial product. And your pricing can be completely different, much higher, much less of a view that it's just a toy. I mean, we debate these things all the time when we see clients that came in. One came in, they are going to do something that lots of other companies have failed at, which is some form of augmented reality goggles, things you put on and you can see essentially your cell phone.
Right.
I can't tell you how many of these companies I've seen and how many have failed, starting with Google itself. Google Glass 1 failed. Arguably, Google Glass 2 is
tells
failing.
you that money's not everything.
And they have a big sandbox at Google.
Yeah, right.
So you would think they would get this right.
Yeah.
And some people would say, well, Google Glass 2 is getting it right because they've got a medical community that's now using it. My doctor uses it. You show up to the doctor, the glasses are on, there's somebody in the background that's watching the interaction and typing notes. Now, that doesn't sound very private, but that's what they do.
No, we've had this conversation, and it's worthy, and it applies to what we're talking about today, and that is consumer timing or consumer acceptability, whatever you want to call it, too. One of the famous ones is Webvan. Remember Webvan?
Sure. My classmate.
You would have thought, oh, my God, this is a home run.
My classmate
but
in
the
business
consumers
school,
weren't ready.
My classmate in business school at Columbia University was the daughter of the guy who was the founder of Webvan. And she used to say, man, I'm going to be a billionaire once we go public. And we said, we hope you're right.
Yeah.
And, we remember when that thing crashed, she said, boy, my dad was sure this wouldn't happen. And, Safeway now has a delivery service, as does Instacart. So a little bit ahead of their time.
And everybody else.
A little bit ahead of their time, right? I mean, Sears was a little bit behind the time. They were ahead of the time at the time that my father back in the 1950s could pull out a Sears catalog, open it up and say, this is the washing machine that we're going to buy, and then order it. Yeah. And then, of course, they would go to the Sears store to, look at it, which seemed redundant, and then get it delivered. Yeah. And maybe all those stores, if they said, let's get that catalog online, they would be the Amazon today.
Lee, so what are some of the things we just talked about that you have a tendency to look at when you sit down and you talk and you listen to some of these startups? What do you look for? Is there 4 or 5 things you could put your kind of finger on, or is it just in general you listen first and then get a feel? How does that work?
Well, I guess there are different things. If you look at someone's face, you may like their eyes, you may like their nose, you may like their mouth or something like that. But it's kind of how everything works together. One thing doesn't have to be more important than the others. I mean, because somebody who has a home run kind of a product, maybe they don't have a business sense.
Good
but,
point.
maybe
That's
their product is so good they don't need it. Or maybe somebody who's got a really awesome team. That's a very important characteristic. Again, having a sense of business savvy and not being solely focused on the product. I think those are the most important things to me. Being organized is silly, but it sounds silly, but knowing how to present yourself is very important. I mean, it gets you very, very far in life and very, very far in business. So,
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to say you'd like to have a leader that is going to attract and keep the team, because a lot of times a team will come together and then fall apart quickly. And if the leader isn't keeping that team glued together, so the leader with the team and the team really motivated to a target. So you can think of the team and that target as just being laser sure about what they're doing. And then once you have those three components, ideally there's a market. Yeah. Like ideally when you say, I can imagine Elon Musk when he wasn't the original founder, but let's pretend like he was, and he said to the team that was around him, hey, we're going to build an electric car. And they said, okay, how are we going to do it? Well, we're going to use this little Lotus kind of model, and then we're going to really make it go fast. Okay. Someone had to say, is there a market for an electric car that's a two-seater? And sometimes there isn't. And it turned out there wasn't. And if you listen to his podcast, the one where he's smoking marijuana, he says stuff like, we had so many problems with that car. And it was true, because in some ways, that car was a learning adventure for how to build an electric car with enough battery power to really make it go and go fast and go long enough. And the real success story was taking all that knowledge into what became their premier car, the Model S, the four-door. And that really was a home run. Right. Now, whether they can duplicate that again, I want to just tell this footnote story. In the papers today, it's just shocking. Some company in Detroit, some consulting company, bought a Model 3 and took the whole thing apart, like literally ripped it apart and said, there's 220 mistakes in this car. Like literally, this is an expert, a guy who's been in the business for 50 years. He said, first of all, the cost of goods, even at the most competitive price for each of those components, is over $35,000. He said he was going to sell them for $35,000. So this guy does a detailed analysis, and he said, this car can be a great car that can make money, but they have to cut all of this excess cost out. And apparently Elon Musk returned the guy's phone call or returned the guy's email or something and said, hey, we want to hire you as a consultant. You can help us here. But literally stuff gets ripped apart to really test whether, I mean, I'm sure there's hedge fund guys that probably pay this guy a bunch of money to do this stuff, say, can he deliver these things profitably, or is that impossible? And in many ways, though, he has stayed motivated to make things work, right? Amazing. And that's what he's trying to do.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back. Remember, those people that are following us on Facebook, stick with us. We're just going to take a 1-minute break, and we'll be back with you in just a second.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Getting ready to buy or sell a home in 30, 60, or 90 days? Check out BundleSelect.com to find out how you could save 20% or more on your entire transaction. Real estate, lending, and title. With BundleSelect.com, technology and a personal concierge are at your service to save you time and money. BundleSelect's hand-picked team of experts will compete for your business, so you'll save thousands of dollars by bundling real estate, lending, and title services. BundleSelect.com gives you all the control, including using your own realtor. I'm Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, and I have been on the radio educating consumers for years. I'm here to tell you BundleSelect.com is the best way to save money on real estate. By bundling services, you could save tens of thousands of dollars. This savings model could save you money on your move, lower your interest rate, or cover your closing costs. Visit BundleSelect.com. That's BundleSelect.com.
The estimated minimum savings are based on a comparison with the national average. Individual results may vary, and the estimated savings are not guaranteed. Bundle Select Inc. is a licensed real estate broker. California Bureau of Real Estate Broker License Number 004666902.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We are continuing our series with Jack Russo in starting something new in Silicon Valley, starting something new. He has brought along with him the expert today, Dr. Leigh Soutter, and she makes us both look smarter, doesn't she?
She does. Yeah. And I'm going to say to her, because I have a hard problem with this, how do you stop the inclination upon meeting a new CEO, maybe with or without the team, to just immediately make a reactive judgment to whether they're going to succeed or fail? Do you see yourself fighting that, or you give them a real full chance, or what do you do when you first visit with them?
I think it's impossible not to have an immediate reaction, but I think that it's also important to open your mind, because I guess one of the things I might do is to think about things that I called completely wrong, and so I look at somebody and I think, this isn't going to work out very well, and then that image where I was completely wrong comes to mind, and I try to open my mind. And then I've also been the person pitching, right?
Yeah.
And
probably valuable.
Yeah, it's a valuable thing to know. So you want to give yourself a chance,
Well, tell people about the robotic startup that you were with and the challenges you faced there. Because
oh my goodness!
I didn't expect that question. We're on live TV here. But tell that story. That's a good story.
Okay, so the gory truth of the whole story is that it started out that I introduced some people to Jack, who I had worked with and thought they were awesome.
And they were.
Very, very awesome people. And Jack funded them for a certain period of time. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you're right. I should say the name. Florence Ventures funded them for a certain period of time. And they were very product oriented. And so that's one of the reasons that I have this aversion to people who can only talk about their product. Very product oriented. And they... I hope they're not listening. They didn't have any skin in the game, So that's another thing that I look for is somebody who's willing to put skin in the game. So they didn't have any skin in the game. I was batting for them because I knew of their great talents. Anyway, so it goes on, and the product didn't seem to be going anywhere. The money was running out, and there wasn't an interest from the rest of the community to ante up anymore. So it was, the last inning, and so we pivoted and kind of tried to make Yahtzee out of everything that we had. We looked at, we got this, what can we do with it? And we did a big pivot, and along the way, somebody dropped out. But lo and behold, we decided that we were going to turn this product and then among the pivots, we did a lot of brainstorming and came up with this idea to turn it into a robotics or an advanced tech entity and to do some things that involved e-commerce. And this is another pivot moment. As part of that, we started learning about some of the cool new technology that was available with virtual reality and decided to do a virtual reality play so that we could draw attention. It was a marketing ploy so that we could draw attention to the advanced tech that we were offering. And so we went down that path. But the idea is that the main thing that I learned from that was, in my experience in pitching to other investors, was, the kinds of questions that they asked me. And I also learned that I don't really feel that it's possible for somebody to start a business just because they want to make money. I think that you have to start a business because you believe in something.
There's a mission.
It's
a real mission.
Right, and it's just not good enough. I mean, I guess in some ways it's good enough. And here's another thing that I learned. Not all businesses need venture money. You need to be able to start a business. If you're going to take on venture money, you got to have something that the venture people are going to want. It doesn't mean that your business isn't any good if they don't want to invest in it. It just means that they don't see the potential for it to pay off in that kind of big return sort of way.
Or it doesn't fit their pigeonholing of what's hot right now. For example, virtual reality was hot a few years ago. It's not very hot right now. Augmented reality was hot not too long ago. It may or may not be very hot right now. Like there's a certain sort of herd mentality. Oh, someone is investing in cryptocurrencies. That's hot right now. Now cryptocurrencies have gone down. Bitcoin has gone down in price. It's not hot anymore. You don't hear as much bubbly talk about it. Now maybe that'll change.
One of the things I want to ask both of you, Lee, as well, is the teams. You mentioned how important the team is. And I'm astounded in, the industry that I'm working with in the real estate and lending industry. I'll see the amount of money that some of these people are getting for a concept that I don't get at all. But they do have this well-known team, right? They have the names, people from Google or all this other, they leave, and that seems to carry a lot of weight.
It does.
Does it?
I'll tell you what part of the reason is, and it's hard to believe. they believe that they have kind of a team that's connected previously with Google or Facebook or one of the other, what might be called like foundries.
Okay.
If that team gets shaky, there's a belief that that team will always be able to redeposit itself back into the mothership.
Okay.
Now, the interesting part of that thinking is a lot of these motherships don't actually invest in those teams that are spinning out. Like you would think, well, if that's true, if it's like a yo-yo, you know, let's spin this out for a while, let them build something in a skunk works, then we'll bring them back in. It would be smart for the Facebooks and the Googles and the Microsofts of the world to give them a little bit of startup capital to get things going, but you won't see that. It'll be more like, you're leaving us, adios, you know, you're going to fail, you'll probably have to come back. It's almost at that level. I think that there would be a much wiser use of capital in the Valley if a lot of those bigger companies, but they worry that then too many people get motivated to leave. You know, it's a catch-22. Well, if we signal that we would put money in groups, they're going to spend all their time around the lunch meal sort of talking, hey, why don't we spin out a group and leave this project and do something better? Because often they're frustrated by senior people, you know, typically suits with spreadsheets running all the time. Hey, you got to do this, you got to do it faster, you got to do it for less money. And they feel like, who wants to work for the man? You know, it feels like working for the man. They want to do their own thing. But there is a lot of loss of value from teams that don't get support from their ex-employers. You know, often the employers like get hostile to them. And if that ever changes in the Valley could really, really take off in a big way, in my opinion. Maybe that'll change someday.
Yeah. We have a few more minutes left. What other kind of wisdom can you bestow on us in terms of startups? Any other nuggets that if someone's listening to the show, Lee, they'd say, gee, you know, I never thought about that, or I have an idea. And before we leave, too, we'll make sure we give the information out again for those that may be needing your services. Any other thoughts before we finish up today? What you look for, some of the things that kind of the flag comes up or down?
It seems to me that it's important when I talk to people to know that they have reached out and tried to establish contact with people who have had experiences, that they're looking for mentorship and looking to, honestly, if people have mentors, they have a bigger network than people who are just two guys with a good idea. And I know that's, I mean, sometimes, you know, it's not two guys in a garage, you know, it's like that we help people get a garage, you know, so it's not like sometimes you reach out, but knowing that you need help and knowing that you need people to like your product, being able to accept feedback, that's a very important thing. What do you think?
I mean, I would add that you'd like to see people that have spent enough time outside the garage talking to customers or where that real acute pain point is, where there's so much pain. Like lawyers years ago would have a lot of pain about writing down timesheets, little time records. Somebody who was probably a lawyer saw that pain and came up with a product called Time Slips. Time Slips was a simple way to get your computer to type in and keep sort of a way to copy various descriptive entries that lawyers kept writing longhand. Time Slips eventually became a much bigger company as Westlaw or one of the other big foundries took the product and said, hey, we can make it available online, and now a lot of lawyers use it. It was just seeing and watching. It's like Yogi Berra. You can see a lot by observing, or you can observe a lot by looking around what's going on. He was right. You can see a lot of fat. It's like you saw a lot of fat in the community of dealing with closing costs. You saw that every day of the week. You said, this is crazy. We can cut that fat.
That's
you
really smart.
saw that. And when you see that and you say, why isn't there a solution like the Time Slip solution that takes a lot of that fat? That's what you want to see. In my sense of it, you want to see someone that really understands the customer's pain and understands, maybe I can deliver a product, but I know I'm going to have the customer in mind, almost like a partnership with the customer, and really interact. So I'll tell one story here. It's a good one, and Lee knows about this one because it's a guy that's really invented some wonderful stuff. But when he came in, we said, this is wonderful stuff, but you don't know if it's going to work. And he said, what should I do? I said, you should go, because it's essentially something that allows you to order from a grocery store by being able to see a version of what's on the shelf. So it puts cameras in all these stores, right? He's public now. He's got a bunch of patents. It's actually a great idea. I said, you got to get a market to let you run an experiment.
Yeah.
So he did. He took over a market in Mountain View,
cool. Yeah.
and he got them to let them advertise that, hey, we're going to have this new way of ordering where you can see stuff on the shelf and order it and, like Instacart, get it delivered.
Mm-hmm.
He's learning a lot about what works and what doesn't work. He's probably going to revamp that product and that overall delivery like 15 times over. He said the best thing you did was kick me out of the Florence Ventures meeting. He said, because that made me understand I've got to make this happen in real life. It's kind of the point you're making. So that company, it's out there. It's called Bicycle. He's a very motivated founder. He's got a very motivated team, and he's learning a lot from being out there. Now, whether he can beat Amazon in this game, it's a little bit.
Amazon will buy him, maybe.
Or maybe Amazon will buy him. Exactly. That's what could happen.
That's
or it could be Costco.
Yeah.
Or it could be Walmart. I mean, there's multiple players that are all interested in making convenience of shopping a far better thing than what it is today.
Very good. Well, before we cut out, let's make sure you guys remind everybody where they could reach you if they're looking for your services and what type of services, again, that you guys offer.
So Jack Russo, Computer Law Group in Palo Alto, downtown Palo Alto. Jay Russo or Jack at computerlaw.com, 650-327-9800. Lee, you're with Florence Ventures.
Florence Venture Partners in downtown Palo Alto.
Right, FlorenceVP.com.
Right.
And you're what's the phone number there? We usually
650-776-3910.
There you go.
Phone is going to start ringing instantly.
If you need help in the startup any way at all, not only the startups though, right? I mean, I know you guys offer other legal services as well, but you're really starting to get more into helping more and more, it seems like, the time spent in helping the startups.
Well, bringing someone like Lee and Florence Ventures to even just mock up, get ready for this group of angels asking you these
questions. That's a good point.
It's really big, and sometimes we do, and people are leery about it. We say, why don't you let us put you on video?
Yeah, that's good.
Watch
it's a great
video.
idea.
When we watch video, when I watch video myself, I say, boy, I should have been a lot terser, clearer. You learn a lot.
No, you really do.
It's a little bit like a
great exercise.
Golf swing or baseball swing. If you watch yourself in action, and the courts are now going video, which a lot of lawyers are freaking out about.
I think I'm a big fan. And I learned it years ago in baseball real quick.
Yes.
The coach would be telling, no, you're pulling your hips out on your swing. No, I'm not.
Right. Then you watch the video. but to make the point, the lawyers...
Cringe moment.
That's right.
The judges are starting to like the idea of turning the video on because they think that makes the lawyers get more to the point. So it's an interesting idea, which is, hey, the camera's on. You better not be boring. Well, brevity is the soul of wit. So a lot of lawyers get it, and I think judges will eventually fall in love with it because they'll say, you know what? That lawyer got to the point. Yeah. He was worried about being boring on video and having everyone boo him. And the future will probably be thumbs up, thumbs down for different lawyers' performances.
Yes,
that's where it's going. That's where it's going.
Just because it's trending doesn't make it right.
That is where it's going. Don't like. And there will be lawyers. Now, people think this is crazy, but like Yelp, there will be lawyers that, hey, in the last 50 arguments, last 50 hearings, I got 48 thumbs up or
36 smiley faces versus unsmiley.
It sounds crazy and it sounds demeaning, but believe me, there will be people that will look at that data and will say, wow, that lawyer does really well.
Yeah.
And they'll probably look at them on video as well.
Good point. All right, well, we're going to wrap things up. Jack, Lee, thanks.
Well,
Great
thanks
show.
for having us.
Always good to have you guys back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks again for tuning in. Again, for more information, you can always go to Real Estate Radio Live, RERadiolive.com. Thanks. Have a great afternoon.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.